Good afternoon, everybody. This is Mitchell Swan, sitting in for Marc McMain. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show on Q92.3 FM. And with me today, we've got some great guests in the studio, and they're going to be with us for the full hour, so I hope you'll stay with us. We have Chris Alexander with us today. How are you, Chris?
I am doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing outstanding. I'm still smiling because our next guest, we got the reclusive, don't bother me, Cynthia Huger, who has come in here to be with us today. And just to tell you a little bit about Cynthia, she is a graduate. She has a master's degree in public administration from Harvard, the John F. Kennedy School of Public Policy. She also has an MBA from Colorado University, and before that, she got her undergraduate degree also there in history. She has worked 9 years at the Rand Institution. Now, if you don't know what that is, I wouldn't kill someone for the job, but I'd cut them. But it's a think tank, and you wrestle with the largest problems facing the world, and people are like, hey, what do you think we ought to do, Cynthia? I think you should do this. Like, that sounds brilliant. And she also served as the director of budget for USAID, and that has taken her all over the world. So we're going to listen to her in a moment. Welcome, Cynthia. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. I want to add one little point, which to me was a very, very good job, and that was the number 2 person, Department of Army, for finance.
No kidding.
Yeah. And it was a wonderful, wonderful experience.
Yeah, they got a few bucks to manage. What was it about that job that so intrigued you?
I think being with so many of my counterparts, and they were all 3-star generals, and so was I, on the civilian side, and there was so much respect and regard for your thoughts, for what you were doing, and I did a lot of innovation at the Department of Army. And I have one funny story though about working at the Department of Army, and the security was different then.
Yeah.
And I came in the morning of Desert Storm, and I walked in and thought, I don't have my security clearances. I don't have any of my, I don't have the things that I need to get into the building. And I walked in, the chief of staff, then General Sullivan said, Cynthia, just come with me, you'll be fine. This is Desert Storm and you'll be okay. And so he and another very, very good mentor of mine, General Reimer, who then became the 4-star of the Army. So I worked very, very closely with them.
And now you find yourself in a studio in Good Hope, Georgia with this riffraff. You know, the Bible speaks of humility, and she is practicing it greatly today. Well, we're gonna pick your brain on some real important things. We have a large election coming up tomorrow that has impact, and I know we're all focused on our recent upfront domestic issues, my millage rate, the development of my district or my county, who's going to be my next representative locally at the state. But downstream, we have some very significant impacts that even our local, guys that we love so much, they're going to be in that fight because it starts here in our zip code. And before we get there, now, Chris, I know you've been on this station before, but would you just tell your story a little bit for our listeners?
Sure. I'm not going to go way far back, but anyways, I was, like you, Mitch, I was in the financial business for a long time, and I retired 10 years ago while living in Atlanta. I was president with a company called Peachtree Planning Corporation, great company. And
great outfit.
Yeah, they are. And so anyways, we decided we were going to leave Metro Atlanta because we'd had enough fun in that playground, right? So anyways, we moved to Madison 10 years ago, and it's been one of the greatest things in our life. And my wife and I have loved the community, and we've met people like yourself. We've met Cynthia when she first came to town, and it's a great place. I think we end up getting a lot of great people who decided to move there. Anyways, prior to that,
Now, I want to know who made the decision for Madison. I picture your wife. I've met her, a lovely woman, saying, "You made me put up with Atlanta traffic all these years. I'm picking the next place."
so my wife is from Southwest Georgia, a little town called Blakely, Georgia.
Oh, she's just happy to be out of there.
So she truly was, and she wanted the small town nuance, and I think we were able to accomplish that by coming here. But we also had some friends who had lived in the area, and they had turned us onto it many years ago, and
Yeah,
and
it's lovely.
it was a good. Yeah, I have no complaints.
Were
It
you
was a
here
good thing.
before Cynthia, or was Cynthia
We
already
w-
planted here?
We were. How long have you been here now,
I
Cynthia?
think maybe 5 years.
5 years.
Going on
Okay.
5 years.
Yeah, 5 years. So, yeah, we had moved here exactly 10 years ago.
Wow.
It was 10 years, almost to the date. So, yeah, it's been a great thing. She lives in the city. I live in the country, and that means something in Morgan County. But
And that's when you said, "I want to be involved in politics more."
You
Tell
know-
them what you do down there for us.
so I actually have a degree in this stuff. I went to the University of Georgia, and I was a political science major. So anyhow, and a fellow named Matt Towery.
Have you discovered it's not really a science
It's,
yet?
you know,
it's just grift. I'm
So
sorry.
I don't think we have enough time to talk about all that. Yes, the answer is yes. But anyways, Matt Towery, who is a pollster now, and I were two of the 6 college Republicans when I was at the University of Georgia. This was back in the 70s. And there were tons of Democrats. There weren't
Yeah.
many. We were an anomaly. But honestly, the lines were not that sharp back
They
then.
wouldn't
were-
allow those people like Zell Miller. You're out of the party.
Yeah.
We haven't had enough of your conservative speak.
Yeah, honestly, maybe I was doing it just to be different. I don't know.
Yeah.
No,
You're ahead of
honestly,
your time.
Yeah, my grandfather had been a small business owner, and he had indoctrinated me years ago about how important free enterprise was and everything. So I just picked up that ball and ran with it. Anyway, so I came out here, and as you know, when you're involved with a broker dealer in the investment field, you are limited on what you can and can't do. And one of the things you can't do is talk about political things, especially in writing. And so it was a hidden tendency I had. I wanted to, but I was I guess handcuffed on the ability to do that.
Muzzled.
So, muzzled. Thank you. That's exactly right. So, anyways, once the muzzle was gone, Allison Thompson, who was our chairwoman for Morgan County at that time, approached me, and I got involved. And soon after that, I was elected our county chair, and it's been, I think, about 6 years now.
Well,
So, yeah.
you've done a fantastic job. That's one of the most enjoyable clubs for someone that wants to come and get some insight and meet some other nice people in the community.
Your words are
So,
appreciated. Thank you.
Well, it's
Yeah.
just a truthful observation. So, Cynthia, what brought you to Madison, Georgia? And you've been all over the world. So go ahead, tell us your story, tell us the places you've been, and then why you decided to settle down here.
Places I've been. Well, I would say from my studies and really my focus, it's been on geopolitical issues. And so recently, with the Department of War now, Department of State, we developed a new national security strategy, which we do every year. So
Yeah.
this was in 2025. And our focus was really aligning with security, economic stability, energy security, border security, and limiting hostile foreign influence in the
Don't
United
forget
States.
regional cooperation. They always throw that in there, too.
Oh, you bet. Absolutely. And so, with regard to looking at the Western Hemisphere, there is renewed recognition that our hemisphere matters strategically. Before, we were heavily involved in the Middle East, Europe, Asia, and I can talk about a little bit of that.
Because you've lived over there.
I have. I've lived in the Middle East.
Well, can we cover that? That was kind of my question. Tell us
okay.
where you've been.
Well,
I've heard,
I have been
Yeah.
in Iraq, Afghanistan, Ukraine for 5 years, Saudi, and Pakistan.
Wow, my goodness.
So, living in those countries, especially in Iraq and Afghanistan during what I would call the war, our government formed something called the Coalition Provisional Government,
Now,
CPA.
I want to put this in context with a timeline because I measure everything by 9/11. So this is post 9/11.
This is post 9/11.
Right. So this
Yeah.
isn't back
Yeah.
like when
Yeah.
things were awesome in the 80s or 90s.
Oh, no.
Right.
No. And so in those time periods in Iraq and Afghanistan, what our government did, and I think really looking back, it was a mistake because the Coalition Provisional Government was formed in Iraq and Afghanistan such that our government was going to do away with the Ba'ath Party, which was run by Saddam Hussein. And removing all of those people basically caused chaos in the country. And so now we had to put together a lot of pieces to make it work. One of the things that I did, working with Ambassador Bremer, was focused on schools. And all the schools were closed at the time for children. So we opened 1,200 schools within a very few months in order that the children could go back to school and have some semblance of continuing their education. But during that time, as I said, there was a lot of chaos. So our enemies
Sure.
came into the country. So anytime I traveled anywhere, we had security with us. And at one point in time, I was at one of the schools to observe and to say, what do we need to do in terms of renovating this school and get it ready? We had precious time to get those schools ready because they were all decimated by war. And no maintenance by Saddam Hussein. None. So bottom line, going into the school, and no one was around the school. No one. It was absolutely vacant. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, shots rang out, rocks were thrown, and there was this immediate, get into the cars, get into the cars, we're leaving. And so we had to have security everywhere we went. But bottom line, we were able to deliver those schools, renovate them within a 6-week period of time. And I was there with Ambassador Bremer the day we opened those schools, and the children were elated. They all had little roses that I don't even
Sure.
know how we were able to give them. They all had their little uniforms on. We had programs for them. It was one of the most cherished days I have ever seen.
Well, I think you gave the kids hope because it's not just I'm back in school, but it's a new school and things are going to get safer. Of
Right.
course, didn't work out that way initially.
It took a long time.
It took a while.
It took a long time.
They're all graduated from college. They got they're middle aged and they have kids now.
Their uniforms are gone.
Yeah. Well, before we go to break, and I know we're getting up to that point, but I want to ask you, just from understanding the people, that live in these countries that are hot spots. If I ask the world right now or our listeners, give me a conflict map. Where do you think we're really going kinetic right now? People would say, well, the conflict in the map would look like Ukraine for sure, Iran for sure, certainly Venezuela, maybe Cuba, certainly North Korea and Taiwan. And I'd be like, well, you're right. But they don't understand there's still tremendous violence in 1/3 of African countries.
Oh, yeah.
And we're involved in Colombia and the Philippines. And the map is way larger than they think. And then you overlay it with just the cyber assaults hitting our country and our banking every single day, our institutions, our infrastructure. It's violent. And I think in not too many months we may see some severe hunger in this world because the urea didn't make it through the Strait of Hormuz in time for planting season. So I share all that. So when we come back, what I'd like you to do is kind of talk about the cultures. What are the people in Pakistan like? Or, are they really our adversaries, or the people in Iraq? But we're going to cover that at the next 15 minutes. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show on 92.3 FM.
Here's Evan Youngblood for Youngblood Tractor in Madison.
Exmark zero-turn mowers are now at Youngblood Tractor in Madison. Youngblood Tractor is proud to be your local full-service Exmark dealer. Find the beautiful, professional quality cut you've been looking for your yard with an Exmark zero-turn mower. From commercial to residential, Youngblood Tractor has an Exmark mower for you with big discounts for cash and 0% for 84 months financing with approved credit. Youngblood Tractor also carries the innovative Spartan zero-turn mowers. These mowers are built tough and loaded with features to make your next job a breeze. Our factory-trained service department is ready to help. We work on all make and model mowers. Don't forget, Youngblood Tractor has one of the biggest trailer inventories in the state, with a huge selection of gooseneck, dump, equipment, enclosed, and utility trailers. Give us a call at 706-342-2242 or stop by and see us at 1600 Athens Highway in Madison, or visit us online at www.youngbloodtractor.com.
I'm Marc McMain, Republican for State Senate, and I approve this message.
Hi, this is former Congressman Jody Heiss. I know what it's like to stand up to the radical left, and I trust Marc McMain to do the same thing in the state Senate. I've watched Marc lead when he served as GOP chairman. He didn't just sit on the sidelines. He helped Republicans, including President Trump, win Georgia. So join me in keeping the main thing the McMain thing. Vote for Marc McMain on May 19th. Paid for by Marc for Georgia Incorporated.
Hey, this is attorney Bart Bitton with Bitton & Bitton. I live and work right here in Monroe, Georgia, and I am proud to serve this area. If you've been hurt in a car accident, you don't need some out-of-town lawyer that treats you like a number. You deserve a local lawyer you can trust, someone who lives here, works here, and takes care of people. So remember this, if you're ever in a car accident, be smart, call Bart. Bitton & Bitton, local lawyers you can trust.
I'm Ward Black, Republican for State House, and I approve this message.
I'm Congressman Andrew Clyde, and I'm proud to endorse Ward Black for State House. Ward is a proven conservative who will fight and win for our conservative values. Whether it's standing up to woke ideology, lowering taxes, or stopping big government overreach, Ward will get the job done. In the race for House District 120, Ward Black has my complete endorsement and my vote. Join me in voting for Ward Black in the Republican primary on May 19th. Paid for by Ward Black Inc.
When you walk through the doors of Campton Restaurant, you're not just here for a meal. You're part of a tradition. I'm fourth generation owner Josh Parker, and for nearly 40 years, families in Walton County and surrounding areas have gathered around our tables to share stories, laughter, and good Southern cooking. From crispy fried chicken to heart-healthy daily specials, there's always a plate waiting with your name on it. We're open Tuesday through Thursday from 11 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. and 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Fridays and Saturdays. So come on by, make yourself at home, and experience Campton Restaurant, where family tradition meets every meal.
This is Andrew. I'm the owner and servant of Sweetwater Soft Wash. As the owner, I run this business to expand the kingdom of Christ. We use agape love and servant-based leadership to bring you first-class service at a fair price. At Sweetwater Soft Wash, we offer roof, house, driveway, window cleaning, Christmas light installation, and more. Text or call me at 470-902-5854 or at sweetwatersoftwash.com to get a quote.
All right, welcome back. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. I'm Mitchell Swan, filling in for Marc, and with me in the studio is Chris Alexander and Cynthia Huger. Cynthia, before we went to break, I said, you've lived over there in some of these areas of conflict. Certainly you were sharing about Iraq, but you've been in Pakistan, you've been in Ukraine, which is in the news, and Iran. Right. Tell us just about the sense of the people that we're fighting for and hoping to liberate. What are your takeaways from those cultures?
Well, I'm going to focus on one, and that's Ukraine. We were there 5 years. And the people there are so talented. They want to show you how well they can perform. And they are so smart, they are so able, and they're so willing to do anything. I actually had a construction company in Ukraine, and I hired a lot of young people to work with me. We were renovating ambassadors' homes. Not homes, but apartments. There are no homes there. Anyway, the first day that I walked into my group, they all had on what they called construction protection, and they were actual papers that they made into hats. And they all wore those hats. That was their construction.
We're talking newspaper hats.
Newspaper hats. That's exactly right. And when I walked into them, I said, Dobre Vicha, which means good evening. It was 7 o'clock in the morning. And they all turned around to look to each other and said, this is going to be a very long day. But anyway, I bought all of them, construction hats, construction material, gloves, whatever I can find them. But what happened in Ukraine at the time is the mafia was very, very active. And so I'd buy their materials in one shop, and then the next day it was closed. So I had to go to another shop. And then I went to the other shop. This happened all the time. But bottom line, coming back to how much I really, really admired and felt so emotional about the people there. I'm still in touch with them.
Sure.
They're just hard workers. They're well intentioned. They're well educated, and they want to do something good in their lives. And then I go to Afghanistan, and I worked with a number of people there who were my right hand and left hand man and men and women too, and they were so eager to work with the United States government, and yet every night they went home, they had to travel a different route so that they would not be targeted.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a very difficult thing for me, because I would talk with them always, and by phone, we were able to talk by phone to make sure that they got home okay.
Yeah.
So again, you become very attached to these people and their culture, and it's a beautiful culture.
It really is.
It really is.
I have a story that sometimes we go in with just our American bias and our good intentions. And there was this little hamlet inside of Afghanistan. And we're like, man, these poor women here, they got to walk a mile to get to the river. And I think you know this story, don't you? You're nodding your head. So every morning, around sunrise, these women would go down to the river a mile away, fill up these buckets with water, and they'd be gone a couple hours, and they'd come back. And we're like, you know what they need? They need a well right here in the center of the hamlet. That'll cut down the commute time. Well, every time we finished it, overnight, it would blow up. And so the next day they're going down, and we'd rebuild it. They'd blow it up. So we sent some female Marines to go over and just kind of sit with the ladies and go, hey, we're really sorry about this. Do you have any insight to who's blowing up this well? They leaned in and they go, it's us. And she's like, what? Why would you do that? She goes, because that walk down to the river and our hour down there collecting the water was the one time we got to communicate. When you put the well in the middle of the hamlet, we go out get our water, we have to go right back to our house, and we can't have any social time. And you're like, so obvious, and I wish we had thought about that a little bit, because they have their biases.
Yeah.
Well, we've got some wonderful people around the world, and one of the things I wanted to talk about is where the U.S. is going now with our Department of War, as you pointed out. It seems like we're creating chaos, but perhaps that's not so. When we look to some of the decisions this administration has made over these last 12 months, we now have the Gulf of America. And people are like, why would we do that? Well, there is a little body of water in the Western Pacific called the South China Sea. And I'll tell you something, China likes to point that out all the time, like, this is our water. It's called the South China Sea for a reason. What they don't share is they're not the ones that named it. Europeans did. They're finding the Spratly Islands. We're maritime nations. The Brits are all over the place, biggest empire in the world. And they're like, well, this seems self-evident. It's a large body of water south of China. Let's call it the South China Sea. Well, that has played to China's benefit. And so even though they can't find an ancient map of antiquity that they ever first used that phrase on, they're like, I don't know, it's just a big body of water. But now we've named the Gulf of America from the Gulf of Mexico. We've retaken the Panama Canal that we dug. We've gone into Venezuela, and we got that country to be functional again after some intervention by China. And we'll talk about the Monroe Doctrine down the road. And now we're talking about Greenland and Cuba. It seems to me, Cynthia, that someone's thinking we ought to take back the Western Hemisphere, the American Hemisphere. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think what we're doing right now is we are on a path to create more prosperity and security for our country. China has been an influence. Venezuela has been selling oil to China at a discount for a very long time. China has no oil. And at this point, with Venezuela is doing the best it has ever done with what we have done to help them. Now we're looking at Cuba. And I actually was in Cuba years ago with a humanitarian organization. So again, I saw firsthand how people were living. And it's a beautiful country.
It is.
It's a beautiful country. And yet, what was really an anomaly to me was I brought toilet paper, and they were so thrilled with the supplies. This is humanitarian gifts, but just to have toilet paper.
Sure.
And yet, something else that we were staying in a hotel. It wasn't a luxurious hotel or any of that, but we would go down for breakfast, and the layout of the food was it was unbelievably good. It was best to best. Yeah, I've never seen it. Well, we've seen other hotels that put spreads like that, but that matched that.
Yeah.
That matched spreads that I saw. What I did see, though, were the Cubans who had to serve those foods to we being the tourists and there. And yet, when they walked outside, they were happy to get toilet paper. It's that country has a lot of potential, and I think it has been under communism rule for 60 years.
Well, I'll expand on that. Not only does that country have great potential, but the whole continent, southern continent, okay?
Correct.
So if you go back to the year 2000, there was only one country that China exceeded us in trade, and that was Paraguay. Right in the middle, poor little country, they came in. Now, most of this started in 2013 when John Kerry, the Secretary of State, proudly announced that the era of the Monroe Doctrine is over. And when he made that statement, about a few weeks later, China goes, we're going to start this thing called the Belt and Road Initiative. Mm-hmm. And by 2024, virtually every single country down there is enslaved to them. Now, they built them great things. You want a new port, you want a bridge, you want a highway system, you want some communication towers. We can do all of that. But you owe us a lot of money. The one that owed, as of that invasion, the most money to China was Venezuela of $45 billion. They're never going to dig their way out of that hole. A country that was the third richest country in the world 30 years ago. But by us taking back the Panama Canal, going right for their biggest debtor and saying, you're free. You work with us now. Maybe we'll work on some kind of structured loan payment, to pay that off. But we're going to start, I hope, really raising up South America. I thought that was our greatest geopolitical mistake, manufacturing way on the other side of the Pacific with China, when I had all these nations down there that spoke, with the exception of Brazil, a common language. They were all Christian, have a strong family value system in place, and they're Christian. I'm like, who doesn't want more of that? And they have more resources than any other portion of the planet. To what you alluded to is what was making me think of that wonderful fruit. Everything's fresh. They give you a meal. I don't think it even touches the refrigerator. It goes right from the garden on your plate, and it's just remarkable. And do you give Trump high marks for doing that? For having the backbone?
I give him very high marks. It's hard to do.
Sure.
Because not everyone sees it the way we might. But in the end, the people are thrilled. They want that kind of freedom. They're fighting for it.
And that's what we don't hear, is how pleased they are.
Oh.
And, the benefit to bringing law and order, because, by the way, the global war on terror is not over. People are like, we're out of Afghanistan and Iraq. We never stopped this. We're in the Philippines and a few other places. But down there, operations continue in Venezuela, And they're going to bring stability. I'm not saying they're killing gang lords, but I would speculate that's probably what they're doing. But can you imagine the benefit to like Mexico with so much crime and so many cartels if stability and peace was achieved in abundance, really, for good lives down in South America, all those nations? It would dry up, don't you think?
Oh, I definitely think so. In Trump's first administration, I was the head of an agency called the Millennium Challenge Corporation, and our responsibility was to provide to friendly nations that went through a lot of scrutiny, that we ended up providing them funds to do certain things, such as building a power plant, changing farming so that they had good impediments. They had good supplies. And so one of the countries that I worked in was Ethiopia. And that was a small grant that we made to them. I think it was $150,000, if I'm right, which they would have to do certain things over so many years. But to go into a country like that, the people were thrilled. And we had certain restrictions in which they could receive those monies, all approved by the board. Secretary of the State was our chairman. Bottom line, to provide funds to these friendly countries, which we also did in some other countries in the southern area too.
And USAID plays a big role in that.
Oh, USA played a very big role. But bottom line, these were funds that we could actually track. Millennium Challenge Corporation was a totally different development corporation than anything we'd ever done. It was organized by Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice, and so the funds that we were given to these countries were monitored, not just once in a while, but daily. So again, power plants, water plants. I mean, these things were huge infrastructure that helped those countries.
Well, when we come back, we're going to move on to some other subjects too and get your insights and hear from Chris over here. Again, you're listening to the Marc McMain Show. I'm Mitchell Swan. You're listening to Q92.3 FM.
Hey, listen, it's that Rick Jackson again.
Too often, criminal illegals commit sick, violent crimes. Do that when I'm governor, and you'll end up deported or departed.
Dang. I know, right?
What do you have, Sugar?
I'll take the meatloaf and Rick Jackson for governor.
He's something, ain't he?
Oh, he's tough.
No tolerance for criminal illegals, no woke ideology.
No more do-nothing career politicians.
The man escaped the projects and built one of Georgia's most successful businesses. Plus, he's big-time pro-Trump.
And he wants to cut our property taxes. Like for real.
Shush, y'all. Here comes the good part.
No more free rides for people who refuse to work. You want to sit on your butt, binge watch Netflix, and scarf down Cheetos? Do it with your own money.
Amen to that.
Conservative Rick Jackson for Georgia.
I just love that Cheetos part.
Paid for by Jackson for Governor, Inc.
Have you been putting off auto repairs? Do you want a body shop you know and trust? Go see Auto Correct Collision. Auto Correct is a family-owned and operated collision center with over 45 years of experience. Their equipment and training exceed industry standards. No repair is too big or small. Ask about the special drawings and mention this ad for a discount. Visit Auto Correct Collision at 409 Mayfield Drive or call them at 770-207-1241.
Are you looking for new tires? Well, look no further than Madison Car Care. They have the largest selection and you'll always get the best price. They also handle a wide range of auto repairs, from the small things like oil changes and wiper blades to the big things like suspension, parts, and radiators. They offer all kinds of accessories, from toolboxes to bed covers, side steps, and they even install those awesome ranch hand bush guards. Give them a call at 706-342-4774 or stop by at 1040 Confederate Road in Madison.
Make sure your diesel is ready for every season by stopping in at Leadfoot Diesel. Their technicians have many years of combined experience to keep your Cummins, Power Stroke, and Duramax running the way it should. Plus, they can improve fuel mileage, perform upgrades, AC repair, and they offer tires, wheels, lift kits, and more. Diesel owners from all over the country trust Leadfoot Diesel, 320 Mayfield Drive in Monroe. Stop in or go to leadfootdiesel.com.
All right, welcome back. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show, and in our studio we've got Chris Alexander. I'm going to ask Chris right now, we got a big election tomorrow, and then it's over, right? We got judges that you better vote for, or they're, the election's done. How are we looking right now?
So I'm going to speak about Morgan County, and then I'll talk a little about the state. In Morgan County, as of Friday, we've had 2,800 people vote, which I think is a decent number. We're tracking a little better than the state is. I think the state is around 12% of the populace has voted. We're doing a little better than that. We're in the 15-16% range.
That's good for early voting, I would think.
It's very good. And then our mix, this is where the big difference is. In Morgan County, and obviously as a Republican, I track this kind of stuff, but about 76% of our voters have been registered Republicans in Morgan County, and the other 25% has been Democrats. In the state, there's a big disparity. There have been approximately 400 and change thousand Republicans vote, and 500 and change Democrats. So about 100,000 difference. The Democrats leading by that 100,000.
All right, so we've got a hurdle to cross tomorrow with that statewide. Does that signal a shift from people that had been registered Republicans now voting as Democrats, or just lazy Republicans staying home and not voting?
So you're asking me that question. I think it's lazy Republicans not voting. I don't think people realize one of the things that you're making a big decision on are judges. And most people think, well, this is a primary. Somebody's going to make it through. I'll vote for the judge at the general election. No, this is whoever wins in this primary for the judge positions is there.
Is theirs. Right.
That's the election for that. That's real important because we know that the liberal wing of the Democrat Party, which unfortunately is a large number now, they want to control the judges out there, and they want to legislate from the bench versus letting our legislative branch do that.
So for someone, as I understand it, and I'm probably wrong, I'm asking this question, do they mark the judges as being Republican or Democrat, or are they not marked?
No. This one's an easy one, though. I will say, if you're a Republican, more than likely you need to seriously consider just voting for the I, which is the incumbent. Because right. Every incumbent judge that is running again, and they all are, they're all conservatives.
Oh, wonderful.
So,
Good to know.
Makes it real easy. But you have to get out and do it.
I wish it was the case with our senators, but it's not.
Totally agree. And it's definitely not, is it? It's
all
definitely
right.
not, yeah.
What time do the polls close tomorrow?
7 to 7 tomorrow. So
all
7
right.
a.m. to 7 p.m. Yeah.
No excuses. Now, I am one of those lazy Republicans, but really I just wait to the last minute because I don't want my opponents to know how many votes they have to overcome in those Dominion machines. No, I'm just kidding. Just kind of too soon? All right. Well, Cynthia.
Give it a month.
So if we are successful, at least in holding the ground here in Georgia, and I hope the other 49 states do the same and keep this Trump administration moving in a positive, effective operational direction, what are some of the concerns that are on your mind? And I'm really looking at you for like Ukraine, Iran.
A little bit about Ukraine. I lived there 5 years. I lived with the people there night and day, basically. And one of the things that happened, which is a fond memory, my husband created a new office, and one of his staff said, that's the worst place that you can possibly be. Anyway, it turned out to be the best place you could possibly be, and it was a beautiful office. Anyway, it had big hallways that were playing. And I thought, I'm going to go to the art school and ask them if we can bring their students in and show some of their artwork, which we did, and they would get paid. So anybody who bought a picture on that wall, they could take it home with them. But whatever they paid for that picture would go directly to that artist.
Oh,
so
fun.
it became a very big program in the USAID mission in Ukraine. And I became friends with a lot of people and a lot of students. And one of the stories is we lived in a very large building that they used the front doors for firewood. And so a lot of things were broken down. They hadn't done many things. And so we did renovate the entire building. Not the entire building, the place where we lived. And I found so many workmen who could do woodwork, who could do plaster, they were so proud of the work that they could do. That little bit about Ukraine. I'm going to turn to Iran for a minute. I strongly support what President Trump is doing in Iran for several reasons. First and foremost, it's preventing a nuclear weapon from being developed. And one of the things that I just don't understand is within the media, we have heard scant about the number of people who were removed by their government as we started this effort. And I just don't understand it. I don't understand why the media doesn't focus on the people who have left this earth and didn't need to. They were targeted again by the government. And we've heard lots of stories, but not enough.
So what you're saying is this goes back to Venezuela. If you ask the Venezuelan citizens, how do you feel about Maduro going, they'd be like, we're going to give him high marks, A+. And you're saying that the Iranian people, too, are having hope for the first time, like, hey, maybe we can be Persian again and not a theocracy.
Oh, they're 90% of the Iranian people live there, have lived under that regime for a very long time, have felt suppressed. We've heard stories off and on, but they want freedom.
Are you hearing this, too, from some folks you're still in touch with up in our federal government?
Absolutely.
See, that's important. I mean, I have friends that go on Truth Social, like, no, Trump said they like us. And people are like, well, Trump said it must not be true. He's just being pompous or whatever it might be. You're looking at me, that's what our Democrats might say, or the news agencies, but you're saying the people there are really encouraged that their future 5 years from now can be good. What's the future look like for poor people in Ukraine? I mean, when you told me these stories of the students selling you artwork, I'm like, they could have been up to age 50 by now and put on the front lines, and, those days are over. I mean, I'm kind of done with all the killing if we could just end this. How do you see this thing folding out? Or what would you say at Rand Corporation when you were in the think tank?
Well, that would be quite a bit different because I'd be doing a lot of research. I can only tell from personal issues right now. A woman who worked with me in our house, when I first met her, I thought, oh my goodness, she's a poor, I feel so, I'm going to help her. Bottom line, she became a beautiful woman and raised a beautiful child who is in something I so esoteric with regard to physics and all of that. He's in his master's, and yet he was a target for being conscripted by the military.
So this is recent.
This is very recent, and we tried very, very hard to enter him into Georgia Tech. We were unsuccessful, but we tried very hard. Ultimately, Yulia, my friend, who worked with me, wrote and said, I think I can get my son out of the country. And my words were, whatever way you can get him out of the country, do it. Because We're not in a position in the U.S. right now. We've got too much fomenting in the system. And so I heard from her recently. He is in Switzerland, and she said, "What do you think?" And I said, whatever he can do in Switzerland, he is going to be okay.
Yeah.
But coming back to Ukraine, I worry about him
Dying. Would you say he'd be dying, though, for a noble cause? Or is this... I've always felt like this war's over. The only reason they haven't pushed to Kiev is they don't want Kiev when I speak of Russia.
Right.
And let's just get to the... we were in the negotiation table within 6 weeks back in 2021. I wish we had just done that. We'll just save so much beautiful, old, ancient architecture, the cities. I mean, you look at the history that's been leveled, and it's heartbreaking.
The city is... It was
Kiev,
renovated.
the one that's still up. But
Right.
what about all these other ones that they just
no.
lost?
They're devastated.
Yeah.
And again, the land in Ukraine is so rich. I mean, it was known as the breadbasket for a very long time.
The old joke about the Ukraine growing fields is that you could take a combat boot, bury it out there, come back in 6 months, and something edible is growing.
Right. One last story. I remember bringing, these were purple potatoes to the staff who worked with us in our house. All women. They all graduated together from school. They were terrific. They planted these purple potatoes, and they had, it was so productive that they would bring potatoes to me and who else saw purple potatoes in Ukraine? So it was a lot of fun.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
As I look at the context of this, and Chris, throw out your thoughts too, as we're reshaping the world into something completely different, I look at Ukraine, and if there's one, from my bias, if there's one positive thing playing out, it's just unveiling the weakness of Europe and the ineffectiveness of NATO and the UN.
Totally agree.
So I'm going to throw that out there. But what we have to do, and we have to keep score, because I promise you China does this very well, they look at alliances that they build and alliances that they lose. So if you're a nation, Chris, and they really like you, but then you said something they don't like and you've fallen out of favor, they just dump you and they go find a new friend, right? They keep count of how many votes they get in the UN.
That's right.
I'm fearful, and this is your feedback, as I look to the GCC, and that's the Gulf Coordination Council. Those are all your Arab nations. I feel like the UAE, that just took a hit to one of their nuclear plants, specifically by a drone onto their power generation section, I don't think they signed up for this. I'm really worried that we have to kind of balance out a little bit where Saudi Arabia, UAE, Kuwait, how long they're really in it. We know they were in it from the beginning because we moved more C-17s over there than we have since the first Gulf War. So they had to get permission from the host countries going, yeah, that sounds reasonable. Come on over. We're going to do this fast and quick. It'll be over in like 2 weeks. What do you think is happening now?
Question for you on that.
Yeah.
UAE is the one that just pulled out of OPEC, correct?
It is, and they were the ones that founded it.
Exactly.
Like, hey, guys, get together. I got this really great idea. And it works for 35 years. Like, we're out.
I think that may lead us in the right direction.
Yeah.
I think they did it for a reason. I think they see the end in mind that Trump has, and I think it works with their plan. So I feel optimistic. I don't see them turning on us or us having a problem with them personally. Cynthia, do you feel different?
No, I feel like you, Chris.
Okay.
I believe that the relationships that our president has built with the UAE, with Saudi, they are lasting relationships.
That one relationship he has with Saudi and the new prince, it seems to be really robust and strong.
Very strong. Very strong. And you could see it when he arrived. I mean, it was the red carpet plus.
I think he's the strongest leader, too, in the region.
I do, too.
There's no doubt about it. And I wouldn't leave Qatar out of that equation.
No, agreed.
Or Kuwait.
Oh, Kuwait's huge.
Yeah. So I actually feel really good about all those other countries, and I think they all know. I mean, they've been paying a tariff to Iran to bring their ships through the Straits of Hormuz for how long? I mean, it's insane.
Well, one of the concerns, speaking of the Strait of Hormuz, though, is that the GCC does, in fact, import 90% of its food.
Right.
It gets 89% of all corn and then wheat, and so everything they consume to eat.
Right.
I don't think they're ready to make this, a long-term event.
Right.
So that puts a little fire under our butts to get it over with.
I agree.
Oh, my goodness. I have to take us to break again.
Oh.
What's happening to the time? Hey, again, you're listening to the Marc McMain Show, and I'm going to let my guests wrap us out of here for the next 12 minutes when we come back.
Georgia families value their safety and security, and they know violent gangs, criminal illegal aliens, and weak prosecutors threaten our communities if left unchecked.
But from day one, conservative powerhouse and state senator Bill Cowsert has been on our side.
Decades of holding bad actors accountable in courtrooms across Georgia.
A lifetime of fighting for our conservative values.
Bill Cowsert is the tested and trusted conservative leader we need as Attorney General.
Zero tolerance for criminals.
A safe street strike force.
As a state senator, he held liberal Atlanta DA Fonnie Willis accountable.
And as Attorney General, Bill Cowsert will stop rogue prosecutors from putting politics before justice. You can trust Bill Cowsert to enforce the law every time.
Restore trust in our justice system and put criminals behind bars where they belong.
Bill Cowsert, tough as nails,
conservative as they come.
Paid for by Competitive Georgia Action Fund. Not authorized by any candidate or candidate committee.
McDonald's is putting value back on the menu. Whether you're craving a Big Mac, McNuggets, or sausage, egg, and cheese McGriddles, make it a meal and save. Your favorite is now your wallet's favorite too. Extra value meals are back.
For $5, get a sausage McMuffin with egg, extra value meal, complete with a sausage McMuffin with egg, small premium roast coffee, and hash browns. Price and participation may vary. Promotion pricing may be lower than meal pricing.
Around here, there are 4 things folks hold close: faith, family, friends, and their Fords. That's what Loganville Ford is built on. We believe in treating people right, working hard, and standing behind every handshake. Because this isn't just where we sell cars, it's where neighbors help neighbors, and relationships matter more than numbers. Loganville Ford, built on faith, driven by family, surrounded by friends, and proud to represent Ford. LoganvilleFord.com.
Madison Flooring, located at 1167 Eatonton Road in Madison, is your full-service and professional installation center for all kinds of flooring, from tile, carpet, laminate, wood. They even do showers. They have granite and quartz countertops. All military, police, firefighters, and teachers ask for your discount. Madison Flooring is locally owned and operated. For knowledgeable and friendly service, call 706-431-5152.
All right, welcome back to the Marc McMain Show. I'm Mitchell Swan, filling in for Mark. With me is Cynthia Huger and Chris Alexander. And before we went to break, we were talking about the world, and we're going to get back to that. But I want to remind people how big this election is, right? We're all voting for millage rates and this and that and whatever we want locally. But I'm going to make it local again with South America and the Northern Hemisphere. I want you to vote for the people that are in Venezuela and also in Cuba. So how about that? Tell us about Cuba and the Panama Canal, Cynthia. What are your thoughts on that? Because you gave them high marks, right?
Oh, I do.
And when I say he, we're talking President Trump, right?
We are talking President Trump. Absolutely. I think he's on top of so many different situations that are really the first time that we've really looked at them as a whole for our country. And in Panama, the Panama Canal, and there's increasing concern in Washington regarding Chinese influence. It's connected to the infrastructure and the port operations near that canal. American policymakers are increasingly viewing strategic infrastructure in the Western Hemisphere. And so that goes to the concern is not merely commerce, it's strategic leverage. And the influence by China is major there. And Trump knows where he's going, he knows how he's going to get there, and we need to be in a position to support that. So with Panama Canal, I see that, again, it's moving forward in a very strategic way that we can make control of that canal that we built.
I'll add some context, too, on the strategic value of that canal. Certainly shipping and merchants can go through there much easier than going down to the Southern Horn and going around. But what people don't realize, for the first time, we've had Chinese vessels, military vessels, in our waters. They've been pulling into Venezuela. They pull into Cuba, as have the Russians. They're having full-on operational exercises as fleets that people aren't aware of. But you shut down the Panama Canal, they're not going to make the commute south and go around, because we get to say, no, don't feel like letting you through today. And so I think that that's very critical.
Agreed.
I would say, in closing, the final strategic perspective, the broader issue concerning Venezuela, Cuba, Iran, and the Panama Canal is America is increasingly recognizing that adversarial influence in the Western Hemisphere directly affects a couple things: security, our economy, energy independence, regional stability. And the United States must remain engaged, strong, and strategically aware.
Yes, ma'am.
So, at the same time, we should distinguish between oppressive regimes and the ordinary people living under them. And you've mentioned that before. And I've had the opportunity and the personal experience to work with a number of those people. And I remember them daily. And they are like us. They want to have freedom. And they don't have it right now.
And prosperity. They like a little bit of an easier life, too.
And security.
Right? Yes.
They don't have security.
None.
Well, you look at Brazil right now, they're freaking out because you'd think you could grow a rock in the jungle down there. It's the Amazon, right? But they get over 50% of their fertilizer from the Middle East.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't think I realized that. Wow.
Mitch, I will say one story.
I wanted to ask about Cuba because we had 4 minutes. No, we got 4 minutes. But I wanted to ask you, where do you think we go with Cuba? Where do you see Cuba in 24 months?
Well, here's a story about Cuba. You just mentioned something about a rock. My husband and I picked up I
said a rock. In Brazil, you can grow a rock. Yes, I see the connection. I do mumble.
and we picked up a hitchhiker. And we said, "What do you do for a living?" And he said, "If I could, I would eat dirt." He said, "What I am now doing is I'm salvaging hides that I find on the highway, making belts out of them or whatever I can in order to survive."
We call those roadkills, by the way.
Oh, my God, yeah.
But this is how people...
Lunch in Alabama. No, I'm just kidding.
But this is how people are creative in order to survive. And so for Cuba, we want better, and it's going to happen.
Yes.
It is going to happen. People deserve better. Our government knows they deserve better, and there's somebody who's lived it more than anyone else, and that's Marco Rubio.
What a brilliant man.
I'm going to pass the mic to you, but her story reminded me of the Iraqi. Reminded me of something I watched a man say in China. He says, we go to all these schools, we excel really hard, we want to be competitive, then we get a job, and then you work 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, we're exhausted, and then we're still poor. One guy goes, I don't even want to get a job.
Yeah.
If the end result's being poor, I'm just going to not work and be poor.
Right.
Go ahead, Chris. What have you got for us?
Well, in closing, you said, you mentioned the Monroe Doctrine twice. It's been mentioned. And if we reconvene and do this another time, I'd like to spend some time on the Monroe Doctrine. I don't think most people understand what the Monroe Doctrine is. I don't think they understand the template Trump is using from that to do what he's doing, and I think that context would be worthwhile to share with everybody. Yeah.
Well, what do you got to say for our Republican brothers and sisters out there that have not voted yet?
So get up and get out. I mean, tomorrow is the day, and there's no excuse not to. I mean, you've got 12 hours to make it happen.
There's people around the world that wish they could vote in your behalf.
Like, hey,
we like what Trump's doing. Let's keep it going.
They don't have the opportunity to live in a free country like we do, and we shouldn't take that for granted.
All right. And the judges, Got to get out there and vote for the incumbents, right?
The
Keep them in
incumbents.
place.
It's key.
All right, we'll have our own instability going on here if we don't start voting as a block.
That's right.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much, Cynthia, for joining us in the studio. Chris, thank you for carpooling with her up here and bringing her here. I hope you'll both come in again, maybe even after the election. That'd be wonderful.
We'd love to.
All right,
we
everyone.
loved it. It was great.
I love your
Thank you.
stories. We're going to
Really
go to
nice.
a 2-hour format with you guys next time. All right, everyone. You all have a blessed day and continue listening to 92.3 The Q here in Good Hope, Georgia.